Are you ready? Are you ready for what's to come? Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Playback. My name is Nate.
My name is Brandon.
Brandon.
Yes.
What are we talking about today?
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're talking today about the 1999 Creed album, Human Clay. Wow.
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you ready? Hey. For what's to come.
For what's to come. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you picked this one. I feel like
you are?
Yeah, I feel like it was an interesting pick. I feel like as far as bad albums go, I feel like people might assume this is maybe low-hanging fruit, but I don't necessarily.
Yeah.
I think there's more to this.
Awesome. I'm glad you feel that way.
I want everybody to know we're not picking this just to punch it and to kick it. I'm giving this, it's...
Although we may at times punch it and kick it and say mean things about it. That might happen.
That might happen, but that's coming from an objective place. That is not coming from I've hated Creed since I was 12 place.
Which I'm sure you have.
I have.
Right,
I have.
I don't want to come across saying that, like, you shouldn't like this if you do like it. Okay? If you like it, like it. It makes sense, and all the reasons that you have for liking it, they are perfectly good and valid reasons, and you don't have to explain it anyway. Okay?
I'm putting on my objective reviewer good boy hat today for this one.
I'm happy to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Because the whole reason why I picked Human Clay for this album discussion thing that we do, because I actually wanted to understand why exactly is this album bad? Why don't I like it? Because I have known that I don't like it. I've known that it is lame, and I'm not the only one who considers it to be lame. But why? It's
kind of actually not that bad. It's not that good either. It's just not really, it's not worth the energy to put into hating it,
because it isn't that bad.
It's not that bad, but it's
for that much vitriol.
But it is just kind of boring.
If I can't actually put my finger on why I don't like this, then maybe I should stop saying that I don't like it.
And also tagging onto that, it's like the stakes have never been lower to care or not care about this album. Back then, when it was selling 10 million copies, and it was like...
It was everywhere.
And it was everywhere.
It's inescapable.
Yeah, it's like you really did have to draw a line in the sand as a music fan and be like, are you going along with this or not?
And the winner is Human Clay.
Who likes the popular rock and roll band Creed? No, God! No, God, please, no!
You don't have to pick a side of the fence anymore.
No, it doesn't matter.
I thought it might be fascinating to listen to it again over 20 years later.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I probably have not even thought about this record in that long.
Not this particular record.
Ever since it faded away.
Yeah.
When was the last time you thought about Human Clay?
I find it to be more or less just very bland. Like nothing in particular about it stands out to be worthy of maybe even this discussion. Possibly, but I'm glad we're talking about it. I am. It's I will say the big songs on it are they're good. They just are. They're good pop songs. They just fucking are. I hate admitting it, but like they're earworms. They're catchy as fuck. And in that sense, I almost like feel bad like shitting on it so much my entire life. I feel like they deserved it then. The disregard, the hate. I think they kind of did deserve it back then.
You suck.
I feel like they've absolved themselves, to put it in a very Scott Stappian way. I do not envy this level of success, this level of attention, this level of scrutiny. Like, is there a more scrutinized musician than Scott Stapp?
Kanye.
I am a god.
Kanye, sure, okay.
But yeah, the amount of attention that's on Kanye right now, that's what it was like with Scott Stapp at the time.
We should do a short little history on Creed, the band, how they started, where they came from.
So they're from Florida.
Yeah.
That's half the background right there.
They were basically just like a bar band, right? Just playing bars.
Yep. Local band.
They were a local band. They even had like stupid, crappy names. I think like their first like joke name before they arrived at Creed was like Naked Toddler.
The band's name was Naked Toddler.
Well, we played in bands like that in our small town when we were teenagers. That's like a band of local people who work at fast food places, who deliver pizzas, who play in garages.
They are like the classic story of just like friends getting together, having fun, shooting the shit, wanting to just have fun and play music together, right? The orders of magnitudes of success that they found from making a record together is just like fantasy within fantasy. It's like unimaginable levels of success for guys that were just like playing in their garage. They came along when, the initial grunge bands were all done, right on like the cusp of like the new metal stuff and like post grunge, which is kind of really more what this is.
What is post-grunge? You know what Nickelback and Creed are?
Yeah.
That's post-grunge.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the big grab. It's the big cash in on after grunge exploded, became a big, huge thing that went everywhere, and then everybody mellowed out on it.
Yeah.
All the real like artistic kind of in the know people didn't want to have anything to do with it anymore. But now it's all left out there with all of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Who is not people who like have their finger on the pulse with what's hot and fresh and new and cutting edge and artistic and authentic.
This is 10 years later, record executives go, "Oh, I get it now. This is what the kids want."
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
Now we know this is like a reliable sound we can rely on to sell records. And so bands like this, it's like, they're not necessarily going to pop up from like some kind of organic blossoming scene. It's like they're just everywhere. And if you have somebody with the right look and they have the right sound, it's like the record labels just go, "Yep, I'll take one of those." And then you get just, oh my God, the amount of bands like this after Creed. It was just like, it was like a sea change of like grunge imitators.
Post-grunge is very different than some seemingly related styles of music like post-punk, post-hardcore.
Yeah.
These are also very clearly delineated styles of music that came out in the 4 to 8 years after the explosion of punk and hardcore punk, right?
The difference between post-punk and punk you're articulating here is like post-punk or new wave was not just a pale imitation of punk.
If anything, it's deeper.
Yep.
It's more artistically complex. It's more like expressively complex, like they're doing more art.
Yes.
Than the thing that they jumped off from. Same with post-hardcore, I think, in my opinion. Now, post-grunge is the opposite of that. Post-grunge is noticeably less creative. There's less artistic content in what they're doing than the thing that they took off from. And you can see that when you just compare Scott Stapp's voice to the singers that he took it from, you know?
This band was like constantly being compared to Pearl Jam. I feel like, yes, his voice resembles Eddie Vedder's in the sense that he has a baritone voice, but I kind of feel like he's doing Scott Weiland and Chris Cornell. He gets compared to Eddie Vedder because I think he has a very low baritone voice. But like he got compared to like Jim Morrison too, which I think is fucking way more ridiculous. Although I think that's really what he wanted. He wanted to be Jim Morrison.
I could really only see that comparison in terms of like visual, the way that he like looked and the way that he wore his hair and the way that he attempted to present himself visually.
Dude, Woodstock 99. They dragged out Robbie Krieger from The Doors to play with Creed at Woodstock 99. Dude, I watched this behind the scenes, like backstage interview where it's like Creed with Robbie Krieger of The Doors sitting there. And Robbie Krieger, he's like talking about how like, oh yeah, Creed, they're huge. Like it's awesome. And he's obviously there to lend credence to the fact that like, you know, everybody like thinks of this guy as like, he's like the new Jim Morrison, I guess. The interview goes, oh, and we've got Creed here with Robbie Krieger. And Robbie Krieger goes, yeah, Robbie Creeder, as like a joke.
Robbie Creeder.
Robbie Krieger from The Doors.
Creeder
from The Doors. Welcome, man.
We're
going to talk about what you're doing here in a minute.
And then Scott Stapp goes, you know, we're just so happy to be here with Robbie Creeder.
We're going to do a little Creed, little Doors, little jam with Robbie Creeder and have a good time.
It's
Krieger.
A true honor to
Krieger, that was a joke I was making. Creed, get it?
You're
Krieger.
messing me up, man.
And Robbie Krieger was just making a joke that like he just, because he's playing with Creed today, he just made a little pun on his name. And it's like, dude, this guy, Robbie Krieger, a legend, is sitting here putting his reputation on the line, lending his reputation to you during the biggest show you've ever played, and you don't even know his name. Dude, come on, bro.
I personally don't really see any similarities in terms of voice, but except for just like his range might be similar.
And that's kind of the thing I feel like about with the Eddie Vedder comparison.
Well, dude, come on.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
The similarities between the way that Scott, like, come on.
I know. He does sound like Eddie Vedder. He does. He's doing bargain bin Eddie Vedder. He is. He
does, right, because Eddie Vedder and Lane Staley and Scott Weiland and all these other singers, they had a way of pronouncing words, right? Where you like pronounce that you stick your jaw out and you pronounce things in the back. And this is the way that I sing, and you like roll it here, or you go in to there. Scott Stapp this is the thing that he's most known for, is imitating that inflection and that little style that those 3 or 4 grunge singers sang with. But I think that he's most closely imitating the way that Eddie Vedder did it.
Granted, Scott Stapp and Eddie Vedder sound very similar, but like musically, aside from that, there are 0 commonalities between Pearl Jam and Creed. They said they couldn't sound more different. Like they're totally different musically.
I pulled up the comparison, man. Like when I was listening to Human Clay, I did a lot of comparison with Eddie Vedder and Lane Staley. Mm-hmm. Eddie Vedder and Lane Staley both had more to their performance than just that Earl pronunciation thing. There's more going on. And when they would lean into certain words or certain phrases, they had more tools and their voice would change and adapt, and it was kind of more 3-dimensional, let alone the lyrics. they're singing and that they wrote, and the complexity of the emotions that they're like expressing
Yes.
are way more complex and three-dimensional and coming from seemingly a much more like raw, authentic place
Yes.
than Scott Stapp.
Yep.
And Scott Stapp kind of, he latched on to that way of pronouncing things, but Scott Stapp doesn't go outside of that delivery nearly as much as the two guys who he got it from.
Yes.
And compare that to post-punk vocalists, and compare them to the original punk vocalists that they took their inspiration from. They go new places. They add in new tricks and new tools. Scott Stapp went the opposite direction. He stripped it down and made it simpler and less complex.
And dumber.
He dumbed it down.
If you took Dollar Bin Eddie Vedder with a Christ complex, and then underneath him you had a band that thought they were Tool.
Disagree.
Well, I'm not saying it's as good as Tool. It's way worse. But
Right,
what I'm
you're
saying
right,
is like,
yes.
I get what they're trying to do, which
Yes.
is like they're trying to maybe sound like if Tool like farted in the other room and you smelled it and you're like, oh, that could be Tool. That's like basically like what they're doing.
Yeah. Late 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a thing happening in rock music in the late 90s, and bands like Tool and Deftones and some others were just fucking firing on all cylinders, just like blowing everybody's minds, like coming up with these ideas that were like, where is this coming from?
Specifically kind of like this kind of thing that I noticed that they're trying to do, which is something Tool does 1,000 times better. But it's this thing where it's like you're kind of pedaling on like an open root note, and then you're just kind of doing these dancing like, but all while there's like a drone happening, right?
Yes.
That's like a very and like maybe the drums are kind of tomming it up, like boom, boom. I'm doing a horrible, sorry, Tool. But
no, but you're totally right. That is the general.
That's the general vibe
setup. Those are the general concepts that they're building from.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the Tool-esque thing that the band is going for on this, and it's a very poor, pale imitation.
Really poorly done.
Really bad. But I, in an effort to kind of give them credit, it's like, okay, at least your influences are cool. I get it. I get that at least. Like
Scott
I hear
likes Pearl Jam. We like Tool.
Yeah, exactly. We have no original thoughts in our brains. Sorry, and thanks for buying 10 million copies of our album.
When I listen to bands like Deftones, Tool, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, they all have this front man who is really charismatic and doing something very cool that we connect with. But behind him, the drummer is expressing just as much creativity and innovation and playing something that like nobody would have thought of. And, you know, there's like all these guitar riffs and that are happening back there. Like everybody is a team. Every member of this band is equally contributing and equally like expressing themselves.
Yeah.
They're all artists. And the majesty and the enjoyment that we get out of listening to those records is like listening to this really cool thing, which is like 5 great artists who are all friends, who are all in the same band, who are all together, all for one, playing on this record together.
Yeah.
When I listen to Human Clay, when I listen to Creed, it really feels like I don't even know the names of the people who played drums and bass, who are members of this band. They feel like employees. It really feels like these are just Scott's henchmen. You know what I mean? All of the artistic room on the record is being sucked up by Scott Stapp. It's almost like I need to be the only one who is the deep, important artist guy who's expressing himself. I'm expressing my art right now. You play the drums.
Yeah.
You play the bass.
Yeah.
I will be the artist.
I think that's very insightful of you because that is literally their dynamic. That is literally why they like broke up. Like that's their relationship to a T.
But when we went on the reunion tour, that's when Scott would ride on his own bus and the rest of us would ride on our bus. But I would say we all got along till the pressures got heightened towards the end of the Human Clay, early Weathered.
Fuck you guys, I have my own tour bus. Like that was like what led them to break up the second time, was he just was like, he was above it all. The guy had a real massive ego problem. You went from $6,000 demo, basically, that you turned into a 6 million copy selling behemoth, and you ruined it. You ruined it because of your stupid ego.
All of this falling apart like this is on you. Wow. We had a good thing, you stupid son of a bitch. We had everything we needed. It all ran like clockwork. But no, you just had to blow it up. You and your pride and your ego.
One of the first things that really turns me off about this, you eat with your eyes, folks. And this is one of the most PlayStation 1 ass album covers I have ever seen in my goddamn life. It is one of the most purely trash album covers I've ever seen. And you know what's worse? You know what's worse is the one they put out after this. Oh my God. Will you please do me a favor? I want to sit here while you look up the album cover for Weathered.
Creed Weathered album cover. That is the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. What is that?
Human Clay actually is like kind of pretty fire by comparison.
Oh yeah, and just switching over to the Human Clay album cover, it feels
it's like a breath of fresh air.
Nice. That image was all over TV. It was everywhere. It was on posters. It was on billboards. It was on the sides of buses.
New album coming September 28th.
I'm sure they did a dumbass music video with like a Human Clay guy.
Probably.
I don't know for sure, but I'm gonna go cha-ching if I can pull a music video clip of a Human Clay man.
I don't know the name of the drummer. And I don't want to be just mean to him.
Let's both guess. I'm going to guess the drummer's name is Brian Phillips.
Okay.
What is your guess?
Brad Stevens. So you say Brian Williams?
Brian Williams is the guy, he's a news anchor.
Oh, yeah.
Brian Marshall is the bass player, and Scott Phillips is the drummer.
Okay.
So,
right.
Okay, that's kind of perfect because they're basically one blob of mediocre. So that's what it is.
I think there's a couple moments where the bass player is doing some cool stuff on this album.
Agree.
There's a couple nice runs where it's like, dude, he didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
But it's in there. And good on whoever's producing the record. I also don't know the name of the fucking record producer, whatever. Going back to speaking about the drummer specifically.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I think what he's playing, just the performance of what he's playing is so just basic and really standard and unimaginative.
My name is Scott Phillips, and I play drums for the band Creed.
I feel like he's relying on, and you can kind of say this about all of them, but I think especially the rhythm section, bass player and drummer, they're relying on like a very stock, standard bag of like 90s tricks, right? He does like the Brad, the drummer from Rage Against the Machine.
Brad Wilk.
Brad Wilk, thank you.
Fucking genius.
Genius, brilliant drummer. Like explosion.
Just thinking about it gets me excited.
Yeah, like Brad Wilk, brilliant drummer, owns that move, but like also just spawned a million of the most bland, rip-off, copied moments like that.
Look,
you know,
this album came out in 1999. There was such exciting things happening in the world of rock and roll drumming at this time. Okay, this is the time of Abe Cunningham from Deftones, Danny Carey from Tool.
Shit, Dave Grohl was still around the kit. He was doing Foo Fighters, but he was still playing on stuff.
Jose Pasillas from Incubus, John Dolmayan and System of a Down.
Oh, big time. Dude, Matt Cameron, Soundgarden. Oh.
Exactly. Teenagers who played drums at this time just had so many idols and just like all this creative, cool stuff and just complicated shit where drummers would just song after song after song after song. We're doing something that you just want to listen to this song just to hear what the drummer is playing. Yeah. Let alone how good everything else is happening. Yeah. Okay. Then in the midst of that is when they make Human Clay. It's just, there's nothing. There's nothing. He is just, I am playing the drums and this is how they go. It's hard to not, be mean to the guy who played the drums and sang that, but this is how it is, like it sort of sounds
and it's so insulting to even like compare them to Tool. Because of all the drummers we listed, dude, Danny Carey is
one of the greatest drummers of all time.
He's like a living, breathing genius at the drums. Like, one of the most complex, interesting drummers that has ever lived is Danny Carey.
Yes.
And the fact that they're just like, we should do something that sounds like Tool. And this is what they did. It's insulting. It's insulting. But I mean, I will also add, and this might be more of a production note, or it could be the fact that maybe he was playing like a $99 drum set. I don't know. But like the sound of the drums on this record is fucking atrocious. I'm sorry. Here, I'm gonna recreate the snare drum sound from Human Clay right now.
Okay.
Are you ready? Are you ready for what's to call? That's essentially what we have here. The drums should be like the meat of the record.
It's rock and roll.
Rock and roll, dude. It's
like listen to an AC/DC record. Check out how the fucking kick and snare drum sound on there. It's like, oh my god, fuck, yes, shit.
On top of that, just to continue the thought, the train of thought I have on just like the tones, the sounds, the production value that they achieved with this record. My first thought when it came to the guitar sounds and the bass sounds too, is just like I just get Guitar Center. I just hear, like, if you were to just walk into a Guitar Center and it's like you just were to grab an Ibanez or some kind of like real like metal looking guitar off the shelf, plug it into like your nearest Mesa Boogie, and you were just to like go on the cleanest
triple
rectifier, and you were just to put it on the cleanest sound, and then just strum your humbucker guitar into a clean Mesa Boogie rectifier amp. And then a moment later, when it's time for it to be loud, you click on the distortion button.
And you play the exact same riff that you were playing while it was clean, but now it's distorted.
And then now it's awesome. The bass player is not, he's not immune to this guitar center criticism. It sounds like just a straight, direct bass plugged straight in, no character, zero character. Just plugged straight in and just played open strings, just like fucking like just tone, volume, everything just up all the way, just no thought, just like I'm here and I'm playing the bass now. And it's like that's the palette that the band has crafted for Scott Stapp to sing over.
Yes, that he's gonna bring like 15% of Lane Staley and Eddie Vedder to sing on. I think there are some moments where Scott Stapp's vocal performance does deserve some complimenting. Like in the first two songs, okay? There's Are You Ready? And wait, what's the second song? The first one is Are You Ready? And then the second one, I think is What If?
Are you trying to stump me right now?
Yeah.
What's
We've been listening to this all week, and it's like, what's track 6? Like, I don't know.
Oh, dude, I'm totally lost. That's a completely unfair question.
Because I've been kind of like keeping myself from knowing. Like, I don't want to know what track 6 is.
You know what anyway. Track is truly lost? I will never know the title of it.
What?
Is whatever song comes after With Arms Wide Open and Higher. Whatever the song is after those two, I rest in peace song. No one will ever know your name because
I'll try to guess.
Why are you there? Why do you exist?
I'll try to guess.
Why would you put a song after those two songs?
Being like the youth never dies kind of thing. Is that
it's
one?
like it's like a thing about the fucking the Fountain of Youth song.
I
think that's the one.
I might be
that
wrong.
That could be the one that comes before those songs.
Yep. No, I'm wrong. That's the song that happens before With Arms Wide Open and Higher. It's a different. We're wrong.
All right, point stands.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point.
What are some of the highlights, standout songs? And you've already kind of touched on it.
Yeah.
Well,
there's only 2. Well, I don't know.
I would disagree with that. I think there are obviously 2. There is Higher and With Arms Wide Open. There are 2 others for me that I think just like from an earworm perspective, like that hooked me this week listening to this, that I was like,
I wonder if they're the same 2 that I'm thinking of, because I also have 2 that I'm like, I actually kind of like.
Yeah. Are you ready for what's to come?
For what's to come.
Yeah. And Faceless Man. I was kind of like, okay, Faceless Man.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, what is it about?
The Faceless Man is human clay man on the cover. Who represents something bad.
Album cover man.
Something bad, something he doesn't want to be, maybe. And something in the song Faceless Man, he's articulating maybe something about being more connected to himself and nature, maybe. And Faceless Man.
Like, I don't want to be that guy.
I take a stand against the Faceless Man. Faceless Man represents,
all right,
I don't know, compromising yourself some way, maybe in a bad way or something. I don't know. That
some version of yourself that
you reject or want to move away from. That's what I took from Faceless Man.
Musically speaking, I am totally open to the possibility that there's some great music happening in Faceless Man. I believe it. My main thing was just like it's the lyrics and the way that that he's what he's saying in that song is just like the epitome of like the masquerading of artistness with human clay. I went to the forest and sat by a stream and let a bird land on my finger. And I spoke to the bird and was like, Mr. Bird, speak. I want to connect with your soul.
Drink myself under the table now.
That was Faceless Man. The two besides the big singles that I thought were okay and kind of good are You Ready Here for What's to Come? And What If?
Yeah, that one's good.
What if
yeah. That one's pretty good.
That's a cool song.
One's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
So, I mean, out of an hour of music, hour and 5 minutes, which is another complaint I have about this, fucking way too long. Jesus fucking Christ. Hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Please stop. Stop it. No one needs to make albums that long anymore. Yeah, there's
two really good songs that are presented
poorly
in a stupid way.
And then
and
two
songs that are okay.
Two, arguably three other
right, yeah. You like the
pretty good songs.
You like the nature stream song.
Dude, Faceless Man. Dude, we could bring the train in the station now. I think we've got plenty. This is all really fun stuff.
No, we haven't talked about specifically about Higher and With Arms Wide Open yet.
Okay, let's go. Let's do it.
That's why everybody tuned into this
That's what
video.
everyone's here for. Let's talk about Higher and With Arms Wide Open. Okay, Brandon, take it away.
Yeah, we can't have this discussion without talking about the two big songs that Creed is known for, that this album is known for. The whole reason why this album is even a thing that people talk about is because of With Arms Wide Open and Higher. The only issue with those two songs is the way that they're presented. What they are on the page, the music is great. I was thinking like, okay, the song With Arms Wide Open. Look, we were knocking the rest of Human Clay for lacking like authenticity and like the honesty that grunge had and everything. I think that song actually has it.
I do too.
He wrote it about
it's about being a father.
Found out that exactly.
Yeah.
Just found out that like a son, my son is going to be born, and just like all these things. And it has a really cool feature that I think is like a hallmark or an ingredient of really good songwriting. When it goes to the bridge, it gets really poignant right there because he goes another level deeper emotionally, and he starts talking about what he's worried about. And he's like, if I could just have anything, basically it's that my son is like better than me. You know? That he doesn't have to struggle with the things that I've had to struggle with and stuff like that. There's some deep shit.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And that's good songwriting to like hit that when you go to the bridge, the music changes and there's a deeper cut with the storytelling, with the what you're expressing, right? And then it comes back around to the chorus again, With Arms Wide Open. I'll show you all this stuff. And now we understand the lyrics in a new light, right? Of what that actually means to him. We understand it deeper now. That I'm going to show you love. I'm going to show you all the great things in the world. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's a great sentiment.
Yeah. But the way that it is presented musically in this recording is so sappy and just like corny and lame. Like if it was recorded and put forth in the same way as like Into My Arms by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
I don't believe in an intervention.
It sounds like it's performed by two people. There's no reverb on the vocal. It just sounds like a person in front of you at a piano, and you're just listening to this person sing a song that they wrote at the piano. That's what it feels like you're listening to. If With Arms Wide Open was performed in a way like that, it would like people would cry every time that they listened to it. Because the way that it's presented would match the vulnerability and the like emotional closeness that it's asking you for.
Yeah.
Like while this singer shares with you what he feels about the fact that his son is about to be born.
Yeah.
But the way that it is on Human Clay, it doesn't match that. It's like just done in a way that is like disconnected from his own message.
To disagree with you only slightly, the melodrama taking place is arguably appropriate for kind of this sappy material. these are just kind of classic, big emotional arena rock power ballads. And in that sense, I think they kind of nailed it. Maybe it didn't serve the song perfectly, but as far as like them as a band, as an entity, I mean, that's exactly what the moment called for, was just epic ass power ballads. I mean,
well, yeah, look, it worked. I mean, the album went diamond,
yeah.
which is a hardly achieved thing. I think though, with Higher, there's a similar sort of thing. Imagine if the music of Higher was like recorded and performed by like the Pixies or something.
Oh my God. You're literally giving me nightmares right now. This is like a waking nightmare. Imagine the Pixies doing Creed.
But it's not Creed.
I know.
It's that music.
I can't believe you just said
it's
that.
Those melodies, those riffs. Not played like how Mark Tremonti plays them.
Oh, God.
Like how they play them.
Oh, no.
That vocal melody sang not like how Scott Stapp sings, like how Frank Black sings.
Yeah. Oh, I totally follow the point you're making. I'm flabbergasted by the example you're using.
It would be known as like the people would still love that song.
Arguably, people still do. That's the thing.
We would love that song. We would like it.
It reminds me, the point you're making, it's reminiscent of like how people, this is a popular thing, especially music industry types, to say is Britney Spears' Toxic is a perfect song. And it's a perfect recording, which I actually kind of subscribe to. I feel that way.
I've been known to say that. I agree. Toxic is a fucking amazing song.
It's a banger. Yeah. It's a banger is a banger is a banger. Okay, and that's definitely one of them. That was a 100% guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
And this, it's like scratching the surface of being a guilty pleasure, but it can't cross that threshold because there's so many other things bogging it down, which are like what you're saying, like the general overall presentation, arrangement, kind of execution of the material, right? Which I agree with you. Had it been done in a way that was, more artistic, more authentic, more in tune with the themes of the lyrics, yes, it might be appreciated to a greater critical level. But the only way it would have ever like catapulted this record to where it is if they did this big cheesy ass power ballad style.
The way that they did it. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, in terms of moving units, selling records, and reaching the widest audience possible, that was the route to take. You're right.
Yeah. Whatever. Brandon, so you did this to us. This is your fault. So, are you happy? And would you recommend Creed's Human Clay?
I think this is the first time so far in our Playback album discussions. I think this is the first time that I'm going to say I would not recommend this album. You don't need to listen to it.
Yeah.
No. If you haven't heard it, if you're curious about it, like, it's fine. No.
Yeah.
There's not a reason why you're like, dude, you haven't heard Human Clay. You got to get on that. No.
Yeah. Well put.
And if you want to, fine. But no. You'll live a great life never hearing it. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
What about you? Would you recommend Human Clay by Creed?
No, don't. Please don't. You don't need to listen. You never need to listen. Never. I want to be on record. Before this inevitably gets its like 30-year cycle cultural recycling of like, oh, this is good actually. Because that happens with fucking everything now.
That happened with the fucking Star Wars prequels.
Dude, yes. Okay.
People are saying that they're good.
People are saying they're good now.
No, they're not.
They're objectively
No, they're
bad,
not.
actually. They're really shitty.
Human Clay is the Phantom Menace of rock music.
Dude, Scott Stapp is Jar Jar fronting a band.
Can Misa take you higher?
Can I also just roll back to one of the first things we said in this video where we both clearly articulated that we were not going to shit on this record for the whole video?
It's impossible.
It's kind of actually not that bad. Because it isn't that bad.
Man, it's impossible. Look, I love these guys as human beings. Look, my brother in Christ. Okay, but goddamn, it's impossible.
Here's the thing about that. When I worked at Capitol Studios in the Capitol Records building, okay, I found myself in the mecca of the music world, surrounded by coworkers that genuinely loved this band and would call me crazy for saying that for not liking Human Clay or not liking Creed and saying that it sucked. You guys know who you are, okay? You fucking guys, I love you guys, but holy shit, what the fuck's going on here, man?
They're wrong.
They're so wrong. You have to be out of your goddamn fucking mind to like genuinely think this is good. It's so bad.